There's no hesitation anymore.
No.
Nope, I'm used to you, I know.
You will call the roll.
Commissioner Spielvogel?
Here.
Commissioner Vogler?
Here.
Commissioner Boyd?
Here. Row officer reports and comments. I'm looking out in the audience today. I'm not seeing any row officers with us. Public comments. Anybody wishing to make public comment on the board? Seeing none. Fiscal and contractual, we have nothing. No warrant registers.
What?
None.
What? I was looking through to see maybe my packet was mixed here. There is nothing. Okay.
Holding the bills, I guess, right now.
That's it.
Minutes.
Because I can't imagine we don't have any.
Oh, we got quite a few. We've got quite a few. Tuesday, July 26th minutes. I'll give Mike Rosen to check those over. Take a motion to approve or make any changes as necessary in speed.
I wasn't here. Yes,
Sure.
I wasn't here, so I'll just.
I'll move for approval of the minutes.
Okay, we have motion. I'll second. Motion to second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Question. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Any abstentions?
Yes. Me.
Same.
Here, I was gonna say here, God, just flew me right on. I knew I was abstaining, yes. Okay.
No written communications today. We're steaming right through. Staff reports. Any member of staff have anything to report above the only on the agenda? Seeing none, commissioner reports and comments. Dan, you're on deck.
Well, I'll try to make this as brief as I can, Mr. Chairman. Two things. And you're probably up to speed on this. Since up in New Wilmington, I did read a very positive article in the New Wilmington Globe that the tavern may reopen. A young couple who have some children who moved to the borough probably within the last couple of years have purchased the building, and they're in the process of remodeling it with the intent of reopening it. One thing the article did not say, and I've got my fingers crossed, is that they'll continue to offer sticky buns. I'm sure you've both had them.
Yes.
Yeah. Ooh, they are delightful. So we're very happy to see, and we wish that family much success. Also, the other thing, last Thursday, PennDOT held their annual community outreach meeting out at the Hutchison Center out at Pearson Park in the Shannick Township. And there were a number of local officials from some of the townships. The city was represented. And three of our legislators had representatives there. Senator Vogel, Representative Bernstein, and Representative Sanada had representatives. And Robbie Matisik from Senator Casey's office was there.
Sorry, I missed her.
Oh, and there was a gentleman there from SPC. And if you said his name, I would remember it. What's his last name? No, it wasn't Andy.
Don DeAndrea?
Might have been Don.
I think he handles the transportation stuff.
Might have been him.
He got bumped up.
Yeah, well, I know it wasn't Andy.
Yeah.
Anyway, they reviewed some things that they are in the process of doing, and they also indicated what they plan to do next year. And if you'll indulge me, I'll go through it very quickly. And I'll pass this along to you. They noted that a bridge in Perry Township has been replaced on State Route 2009. It's right on the Lawrence-Beaver County line, and apparently that bridge is now open on Tower Road in Perry Township. They noted that later this year, they will begin work on Route 65, which we know as East Washington Street, both in the city of Newcastle out to where 65 intersects with US Route 422 in Shenango Township. Starting in 2023, they will do a bridge replacement on State Route 551 in North Beaver Township. There is a bridge that crosses over Sugar Creek, and they plan to start on March 1 of 2023 to replace that bridge. It will involve having to close the road for a period of time. They talked at length about State Route 208, and they are going to do this over a two-year period. They're going to start on 208 in Wilmington Township, close to where it intersects State Route 18 up near the cheese factory, and go in an easterly direction through Wilmington Township into the borough of New Wilmington. They're going to do that part this year. And then their plan next year is to go in a westerly direction on 208 from State Route 18 all the way over to the village of Pulaski, out where it intersects with Route 551. Now, there was some discussion because both Pulaski Township and Wilmington Township were represented at this meeting, and they were given assurances that that section, and you know how bad it is, that section on 208, they are going to make some temporary, address it in a temporary fashion, and then next year do a much more complete job. So there will be some work done on 208 both this year and next year. One of the biggest projects that they plan to do next year is US Route 422, starting at the Ohio line in Pulaski Township and going down through Mahoning Township and Union Township, close to where 422 meets with, close to the 376 intersection in Union Township. Out your way in Hickory Township, that bridge on State Route 168, which is the Eastbrook Road, that is currently a one-lane bridge. They do plan to work on that starting in December of this year through December of next year. And they have some pictures showing the bridge from underneath, and you can see why they had to close that one lane. And again, I'll pass these on to you. They also plan to do work on Interstate 376 from 224 down to the Pennsylvania Turnpike Bridge in Union Township. And then in Bessemer Borough next year, they're going to replace a bridge on South Main Street, which is it's a state road, State Route 3001, but they do plan to replace that bridge in the borough of Bessemer. So those were their proposals for next year. I want to pass those along to you.
Absolutely, thank you. Those also can be found, just for anyone interested, in the transportation improvement plan on SPC's website. It's the newest. We just passed it last June, I think it would have been. Along with the corresponding costs associated with all the individual projects. Lawrence County over the next 3 years is getting allocated roughly $105 million. Specifically for both transportation improvement projects like the ones that Dan just mentioned, as well as public transportation through the Newcastle Area Transit Authority and Allied Community Transportation Services. So we got a decent chunk of cash pouring into Lawrence. Is it enough? No, but nowhere's getting enough right now. Right. That being said, Act 89 is expiring here, I believe, this month. And the state, I doubt, will pass a new transportation bill in an election year. No matter what you do, you're never going to make people happy with those, and the legislators all want to get reelected. And so you'll likely see a new transportation bill next year, funding transportation in Pennsylvania, probably for the next 8 to 10 years. And with that, my estimate is, my guess is that there will be heavy discussions on drawing down the gas tax and finding a replacement for that, just because we know you have a prevalence now of electric vehicles, and candidly, cars are becoming more fuel efficient, which in turn means people have to buy less gas, which in turn means there's less gas in the fund. And the third issue now compounding is with transportation funding is that you have a large number of people that are working from home either full-time or part of the week,
Right.
Which in turn means that they have to purchase less gas, and that's how we fund our roads. So my guess is you're going to see a lot of discussion probably around a mileage-based fee. But again, those discussions, thankfully, those are far above our level. And
We'll just follow
we'll
the
follow
rules,
along.
whatever they come up with. We'll do what we need to do.
Do what we need to do. I will say, Dan, in addition, I had Prestapine last night pull our current fund balances out of liquid fuels and out of vehicle registration fee. We've got about 1.1 million in those two combined funds. Now, some of the ones in liquid fuels is
Right.
naturally going to have to go towards funding some of our operations. The
Right.
bridges that we own are all in pretty good shape. But at the same time, we fund maintenance position out of that fund. We fund some miscellaneous supplies out of that fund. We probably draw down anywhere from $100,000 to $200,000 a year for our internal costs out of that fund. But we should have probably later in the year Probably be announcing some grant funding, but not for this year, by the time we get around to it, it'll be
Right.
winter and there won't be paving, but for next year's projects for the municipalities, I think we'll be in a good position to help them get some more of
Yes.
their local roads paved. But thank you for the,
Sure,
for the,
Yes,
certainly.
absolutely.
but yeah, again, if anybody wants to see, I'm sure Dan will send a PowerPoint to anybody that might want to view it.
Including you two. I have
Yeah.
to send it to you, but I will.
Yeah.
And it has
Thank you.
all these pictures. Yes, if anybody would like to see it, just let me know.
And then again, it's also on the SPC's website under the appendix area, if you want to see some costs associated to it.
And to PennDOT's credit, this meeting ran over 2 hours, so they didn't just rush in and rush out. They took time to answer questions. And Cheryl Moon Sirianni, who is the district executive, she had her whole staff there. She probably had at least 10 people with her. So she brought all the people out of Bridgeville, including some of the local
Yeah.
folks. It was a good meeting.
Good.
A good meeting.
I did
Thank
that.
you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Loretta?
I have nothing. I'm good. Back from vacation, ready to get moving on some different projects that we have coming up, so, yeah. Very good, thank you.
All right, the only thing, I'm trying to think of anything I have. The only thing I went to, I was gonna go for a flight last night, but there was a prevailing storm front that grounded me. And so.
I'm hoping to get up in a balloon this weekend, maybe I'll say that.
Balloon Quest, yeah.
Balloon Quest is this weekend, there you go, plug for Union Township, for the fire department, that, but of course, you know, the weather doesn't look good again, it's, you know, wind and rain, and there's, I don't know about flights, that you could maybe go up with some winds up there, but with balloons, I was very surprised if it was, maybe not last year, but the year before, it looked like 3 different times we were going to launch, and I thought, beautiful weather, just absolutely beautiful, but where you go up, I don't know how many feet it would be, that where the winds are, that there was some different crosswinds and things that, no, we couldn't go up. I was surprised by that, so I'll keep my fingers crossed and be positive, but with the way the weather looks this year, I don't know that I'll get to scratch that off, check that off my bucket list.
You've been working on that for a couple of years.
I have, thank you to, and I'll give a plug out to Susan and Dave Hannon, because every year they sponsor the balloon and give me the opportunity to go up, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, thank you.
But yeah, I was supposed to go for, like I said, a storm front come through that.
Yes.
Yeah, we could have gone up, but I try to avoid roller coasters where possible. But so I went to the Wilmington Township meeting. I just want to compliment the guys up in Wilmington Township. They're doing a real good job up there. They started Means Road to fix that culvert.
Right,
Um,
right.
So that process, hopefully that road will be fixed and able to be traversed here within the next couple of weeks. There's like 2,400 screws and rivets that go into that thing, which was incredible to me. That was Brian Swisher told me that last night. But we so often, you look at all these municipalities across our county, we really are blessed with some great local elected officials. We have scarce resources here. We're doing the best with what we can. We know the roads aren't optimal. We know that, we need to do a better job attracting development. We know that, our human services, that I'm sure there's some cracks there. But
Sure.
with the resources that we have at our disposal, I do think that we have some great municipal officials making the best decisions that they can. And just appreciate everybody out there working for the common good. New resolutions, please keep this.
One-liners. I know I missed last week's, there was
We did okay.
quite a few of them, so, and it is the season, this is the season for that, so we have to make sure that we have all of our services in place. Yes.
Or at least some of them. We've got, what do we have, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, plus 6 CYS resolutions. Let's start it out here. We got, Vanessa, what's the first one?
193.
Thank you, Mike.
193.
Okay.
193, thanks, Mike. 194. 195.
Still a little rough with that cane, and good to see our CYS director, John Bowd here, recovering from your surgery. Also, good to see you.
Good to see you also. Thank you.
So these will be 193 through 197. I don't think that we need to go, they're all renewals, right?
Yes, they're all renewals.
So to that end, unless my colleagues want to hear more in depth about the individual services offered, I don't think you guys really, it's necessary to provide an in-depth overview on everything.
Right.
Just give us sort of a general overview of what's going on in terms of these renewals, and we'll take a motion just to take all of them together.
So the one liner in regards to the Cray services would be, when you look at their 21-22 budget and their 22-23 budget, we kept the total increase under 1%. So the difference between 21-22 and 22-23 is $16,516.
And that's total, or is that county share?
That's the total.
Okay, that's great.
Fantastic,
So,
yes.
and I did a little comparison last night just to show you the difference. So at 5%, at this total budget, if we, because a lot of our providers are wanting more than 5%, more than 10%, Cray's willingness to work with us on this
Yes.
budget, keeping it under 1%, the difference at 5% is $100,000,
County share or total?
total.
Great, good. And
So-
still maintain the services that are provided.
Yeah, the only true change that we see with the Cray services is homemakers.
Okay,
We have homemakers listed at 40 an hour. Last year they were 33. The 3-year average for them, for that program in terms of cost, was a little over 30,000. Their high over the last 4 or 5 years was 59,000 for that program, but we set it at an hour mark. So the program has 800 hours funded. So it's possible that they will not spend 32,800 hours at $40 an hour, because they weren't pacing this year or last year at 800 hours. But we have that ceiling in the event that they produce more hours and we have more referrals than we have in the past.
What's the difference between homemaker and home builders?
Homemakers is a program which goes into the home and works on helping them organize, clean. That program focuses on the homes that, based off of the condition of the home, if they don't learn to organize, clean, and prepare their home better, we're gonna have to remove the child or children. These would be households that, for lack of better words, when we go in, are filthy, and they have small children that are crawling on the floors and could have choking hazards. Home builders is more of a skills-based program. It's a curriculum. They have to follow it to fidelity. Home builders is a program that we would use to help prevent a placement for when there's parent-child conflict, or we would put in place as an aftercare component for when, again, a child or children are returning home and there's been struggles between parent and child, being able to get along for things that sometimes all of us would take for granted, like, clean your room or do some basics. So it really builds the skill of the parent.
Okay, and then what's the, we're gonna get to this, but what's the CAC program then? Like, what does it do?
The CAC program works with parents that
It's a very nice one.
their children have been removed from the home. And so the children go away to placement. Family reunification comes in to work to build the parent's skills as the child is away from home. Versus the model of, okay, we remove the children from the parents, but yet the parents don't work on developing their skills. So then we return the children to the parent that hasn't improved himself at all. And then in a short period of time, then we're back to replacing the child. So it's a program which, again, works with a lot of parents that have complex needs. You're looking at households where there's mental illness, substance use or abuse, domestic violence. Also, a lot of the families that they tend to work with historically are households where there's been multi-generational abuse. So we're working with parents and we say, what is the skill set or the strength of that particular family and necessarily why are they struggling with whether they be basic things or more complicated things. It's because they themselves had a rough upbringing where there were lots of risk factors in the home where they were children. And so family reunification does just that. It works with the parents when the kids are away.
Could I ask you a question? Are you was your
Yes.
last question referencing the resolution we tabled
Yes.
last week? Okay, thank you. Appreciate that.
Now, the state made some changes. This probably goes back 3 or 4 years now, as to try to combat the opioid epidemic. They permitted family reunification as a program to work longer. So previously, when the kids were away at whatever program or foster care or kinship program they were in, as soon as the kids returned, in a very short window of time, family reunification would discharge. But now the state has changed the program description to allow family reunification to stay in for a longer period of time. So not only prepare the parents for the children's return, but then to also help work on ensuring that the children remain in the home because they're able to continue that ongoing course of treatment.
Stick around for when we vote on that. That'll be the very, very end. We're gonna try to get through this pretty expeditiously, just because, yeah, we're gonna do the same thing with Scott, was take everything in a chunk, and if anybody has any specific programmatic questions, we can just go over them there. I'm gonna vote for it, but I got a couple comments in terms of budget that I just want you guys to hear before we vote on it. But on that note, does anybody have any questions for 193 through 197, which are Cray Youth and Family through Bethesda Lutheran Services?
I have no question.
No questions.
I'll take a motion to approve resolutions 193 through 197.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, question on the motion. Vanessa, please call the roll.
Commissioner Steelvogel?
Yes.
Commissioner Vogler?
Yes.
Commissioner Boyd?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. All right, guys, if you just want to take a seat here, we'll be through with this pretty fast. I don't think Scott's gonna take up too much time here. Right, Scott?
I will not. That's the only reason, they don't cost you anything, so.
That always helps. How you doing?
I'm doing well.
We're starting with 198, and then when I get through, I'll tell you what the end one is, but if you just be able to start in.
These are all renewal contracts, there's no new ones. These are all between our office. They're all paid through Human Services block grant funding at no cost to the county. And they all will run from July 1st, 2022 to June 30th, 2023. Again, these are all renewals, nothing new. Clover Psychological Services in the amount of $80,000. Do you want to give you the quick explanation of what they do, Morgan, or do you?
Pick 3.
Okay, Clover does our forensic services. You're sure you're familiar with
Correct.
the Clover. She
Mhm.
does all our forensic
Yes.
counseling, really for the region. Number 2 is Dawn Services in the amount of $40,000. GSK in the amount of $20,000. That is an ID contract to do IQ testing for us. Human
Don't
Services.
do any testing to any members of this board.
Haven't got a referral yet, but.
You will eventually.
No comment, right? Well, the Human Services Center is one of our largest ones. That is in the amount of $3,883,956. That is a slight increase of $174,000 from last year. And the center provides all of our base services, mental health services, quite a variety. And post-COVID, those numbers have been tremendous. So we've had a need to increase some of these services. Our suicides are up this year already. So that's what the reflection of that increase is.
Forgive me, say that, what did you say about suicide?
They're up in comparison to last year. I think last year we had a total of 13. We're at 10 this year. So
Okay.
hopefully that stops and slows down, but we're seeing it.
Thank you.
It's everywhere, not just Lawrence. Number 5 is Lawrence County Social Services for the amount of $27,000. This is our IMQ Q4 surveys that are required. They provide those for us. They have for quite a while. Do a wonderful job. Number 6 is large. Again, this is one of our larger contracts in the amount of $609,936. This is an increase of $50,000 from last year. And we had a waiting list of mental health slots getting into the work program. So we added more funds, getting more people involved. And we just took a tour of their Elwood Road facility, pretty impressive. There's some equipment we're gonna add to them as the year goes on, if we can get some extra money. So anyway, long provider, they do wonderful work. Number 7 is the LCRC. This is a ID home and community provider in the amount of $161,470. Number 8 is Patches Place. I do have a budget amendment from last year to add onto this before I do the new contract. We had to increase their,
Not today, is it?
well, do you want me to just add it under the,
No, our issue is we can't with, so unless this is this EI base increase? What's the amendment? I'm jumping ahead.
I don't know if it's in your packet because Scott came up this morning and I didn't know that there were 2 for Patches Place. So I think the amendment I actually have attached to the original contract that you guys were signing. So I don't think that amendment is in your packet. I think I only made 1 copy of the Patches Place resolution.
Okay. What's the budget amendment?
we had to increase their budget by $50,000.
That's covered by the state.
100% covered. They had a waiting list for their AE program where we help our members with their budgeting and their finances. They had a waiting list. They asked if we could help with that. We did. And in addition to that amendment, we added it to their new contract this year. So we give them the extra money. So that's the Patches Place amendment. And their contract for this year is the total amount of $469,087.44. That's an increase of $69,000 from last year, again, to address that budgeting assistance for our members. Number 9 is Passivant. This is a Pittsburgh provider for our home and community ID members. It's for $20,000. Pathways for $90,000. This is a Washington, PA provider. Thoughtful Needs in Farrell for $30,000. Whole life or vocational psychological services for $30,000. And whole life services for $40,000. Those are all ID providers that do home and community skill building, workplace assistance, whatever our ID individuals need, they provide that in the community. Any more detailed questions? I appreciate trying to get through whatever, but whatever you need, I can.
But I do need to make a quick comment on proposed resolution 203, which is Lark Enterprise. I think I make this statement every year for the record. I do sit on their board of directors.
Yes.
I am not compensated in any manner for serving on that board. It's a volunteer board. But I've always consulted with our solicitor to make certain that I'm okay to vote on this. And I've been told by the solicitors, current and previous, that as long as I disclose that I sit on that board, but I'm not paid, that I can go ahead and vote. So there's my annual disclaimer. Thank you.
The only thing I'll say is I wish that CYS was funded like you guys are funded. Make things a hell of a lot easier on that side of the house. That's, they don't get the answer when I ask it 100% state funded. The answer is almost never now.
I don't think there's anything that is.
It was for a time, then for whatever reason, the state decided to do away with it. It's a cash flow issue on the state's end. It's just like we have cash flow issues, the state also has cash flow issues, they just have some extra zeros. But otherwise, unless there's any further questions or comments, I'll take a motion to approve 198 through 210.
So moved.
Second. Motion is second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Question on the motion.
Morgan, I'm sorry, is it gonna be 211? Because are we gonna have 2 separate resolutions for the amendment for Patches Place and then the actual?
No.
You're just gonna.
Yeah, we'll keep it as is, because I don't want to add anything to the agenda, because you get into some issues there with the Sunshine Act. If the solicitor comes back and for whatever reason says we have to do a contractual amendment, even though we're passing the contract here, we'll just do it next week.
Okay.
Or 2 weeks from now. Please call the roll.
Commissioner Spielvogel?
Yes.
Commissioner Vogler?
Yes.
Commissioner Boyd?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Okay.
Up next are some basic transfers here. We have some money going to some different places in DA. Moving the $835 from materials and supplies to association dues, and from DA contingency to their vehicle expense, gas. And the association dues, they might have increased. That looks like the appropriate amount for a member of the Pennsylvania Bar Association. So they might have increased their dues, or I might have forgotten an attorney in the budget. So that's what that is. I assume that's what that is. MHDS, $1,000 contingency to gas. And that's the utility, but the utility's also gone up. MHDS, some budget underestimates here from their contingency and from their ID services base, moving to EI base. Again, we moved to the end of the year, and so we're rearranging some stuff that's necessary. Nicholson, moving some postage money to bank charges, and there's a higher utilization rate of credit and debit cards than there had been in previous years out of that office. And the fees are higher. And then the courts, $8,500 from contingency to office minor. That's the defray and expense related to the build out of courtroom 5. Split the cost of the juror chairs in that courtroom. I'll take a motion, unless there's any questions, comments. I'll take a motion to approve administrative transfers A through G.
So moved.
Second. Motion is second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Question on the motion. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. If there's any objection, we'll keep 141 off to the side. And move to 165, which is CAC. The only thing I'll say this, I'm going to vote for it. At the same time, I want to note that it is going to increase our county share cost, $8,000 a year for the 2-year period of the contract. Again, and I stress this around budget time as well. The county's revenues are not increasing at a rate proportional to our expenditures. My expectation, because we have no large-scale taxable developments coming online in 2020, from now to the end of the year and in 2023, a couple houses from here, but that by no means covers our expense increases. It is going to be absolutely paramount that we keep our costs under control in CYS, because CYS, we've seen over the last several years, has been an area of major cost increase to the county. On average, over the last 5 years, from year to year, it's increased on average 18%, just out of CYS, just in the county share. If we're going to balance the budget this year, it's going to be imperative that we try to keep it to the extent possible below a 1% increase. You guys did a great job on those negotiations. Proud of you for that. But we need to make sure we're seeing that across the board now, because again, next year is just going to be a tough budget year with inflation spiking like it is. I'm expecting it to be very, very tight. And I'm only expecting maybe a $250,000 increase in our operational revenues to be able to support county operations. So just keep that in mind. This is going to increase our total county share by $8,000 over the period of 2 years. We got to keep that number as small as possible. On that note, unless there are any other comments on CAC, I'll take a motion to remove from the table.
So moved.
Second. A motion is second. Any further discussion here? None. Question on the motion. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. I'll take a motion to approve 165.
So moved.
Second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Question on the motion. Vanessa, please call the roll.
Commissioner Spielvogel?
Yes.
Commissioner Vogler?
Yes.
Commissioner Boyd?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. It's a good program. They do a good job. We got to worry about the bottom line.
Thank you all.
Yep. Thank you.
Have a good day.
Good.
Yes, thank you.
Good to see you back.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
No ordinance on the table for introduction or final action. Next commissioners meeting will be 2 weeks from now on Tuesday, August 16th.
I didn't turn the thing through. Okay, we finished here. Okay.
Yeah, 2 weeks from now, Tuesday, August 16th.
Yes.
My colleagues are going to CCAP next week. I'm staying behind. Again, I will do my best not to burn the place down. Prison board meeting on the 17th, again, 2 weeks and a day from now at noon.
Yes.
And there is an opening on the Lawrence County Airport Authority That's the second announcement for that. Anybody interested can send a letter to the board or come in person if they're so inclined and announce their interest for that position. I am expecting the individual who currently holds that seat to apply for a renewal if he hasn't
You
already.
read
You have a letter from him already?
I did, yeah.
Good. The other thing I'll note is the board is when we're on the airport. The Airport Authority Board has completed the initial architectural designs for the potential new terminal building. We have a meeting set up 2 weeks from now, 3 weeks from now, for the board to go over it with the chairman of the Airport Authority and the engineer and the architect associated with the build for our input. And then my anticipation would be once that's finalized, then they have to start the actual
Right.
engineering work. A public presentation by the Airport Authority and by the engineers at the commissioners meeting to go over what the potential project is. But it's exciting times out there.
Sure,
Everybody's getting
absolutely.
really excited for that's the furthest this type of capital improvement has gone to the
Yeah.
airport since 1960, 1960s, I believe, 1968, I think.
Very good,
Exciting stuff.
excellent.
Any additional public comments? Hearing none, any additional comments from colleagues?
Just commend you,
Yeah.
we got through a lot in a
Absolutely.
pretty good period of
There's
time,
so much
so well done.
I think we try. We try. All adjourned.
You're good.
Thank you.